Becoming a good businessman isn't just about numbers on a screen or contracts on a table. It's about the fire in your chest and the purpose in your step. It's not something you inherit, it's something you create. Day by day, brick by brick, decision by decision. A good businessman is not born with a silver spoon. He's forged in the fire of challenges, failures, and sleepless nights. He learns to walk when the world tries to make him crawl. He learns to speak clearly when noise surrounds him. He learns to lead when everyone else hesitates to follow. You don't become a businessman by reading about business. You become one by living it. By feeling the weight of uncertainty in your gut and still showing up with confidence. You become one by pitching your ideas when everyone doubts you. By starting with nothing but a dream and turning that dream into action. A good businessman doesn't fear risk, he respects it. He studies it. He learns to manage it. He understands that failure is not the end. It's a stepping stone, a teacher in disguise. Every closed door teaches him how to knock louder. Every no sharpens his vision. Every loss toughens his resolve. Business is not just about profits, it's about people. It's about solving real problems, serving real needs. A good businessman listens more than he speaks. He learns more than he boasts. He reads the market like a map and adapts like a chameleon. He's not just thinking about today's sale. He's thinking about tomorrow's legacy. He builds relationships, not just contacts. He earns trust, not just transactions. And in the silence of self-doubt, he finds his reason to keep going. He works not just for a paycheck, but for passion, for purpose, for the power to make a difference. He knows the journey is long, but he welcomes it. He understands that growth is slow, but he stays consistent. Because he knows empires aren't built in moments, they're built in movements. And success? It isn't luck. It's loyalty to the grind, to the dream, to the vision no one else can see. A good businessman starts before he's ready, learns as he goes, falls but always gets up, because resilience is his fuel and discipline is his compass. He surrounds himself with people who think big, speak truth, and aim high. He stays humble in success and hungry in failure. He doesn't chase trends, he studies fundamentals. He doesn't panic in chaos, he plans through it. He believes in the long game, in patience, persistence, and smart progress. He treats his customers like kings and his employees like family. He leads not with fear, but with faith in his mission, in his values, in himself. And when times get tough, and they will, he doesn't run. He recalibrates, recharges, returns stronger, because he's not in it for the flash. He's in it for the future. To become a good businessman, you have to wake up early when no one is watching. Practice in silence. Plan in solitude. Hustle with humility. You must be ready to take responsibility when things go wrong and share credit when things go right. You must be willing to do what others won't so you can achieve what others can't. You must stay focused when distractions call your name. You must stay grounded when success knocks on your door. And you must keep learning, because in business, the moment you stop growing is the moment you start falling. The world doesn't owe you success. The market doesn't guarantee returns. But your efforts, your mindset, your passion, your sacrifice, they all add up, bit by bit, deal by deal, win by win, loss by lesson, until one day you look back and realize you didn't just build a business. You built yourself. Strong, strategic, unstoppable. That's how you become a good businessman. not by chasing money, but by chasing meaning. Not by building a brand, but by building a legacy. Not by copying others, but by carving your own lane. The world needs dreamers who act, leaders who serve, fighters who rise, and businessmen who care. So rise. Rise with discipline. Rise with integrity. Rise with vision. Because the journey is hard. The road is long. But the reward is greatness. A good businessman is not just a man of numbers. He is a man of character. You can teach someone how to calculate profit, but you can't teach them how to care. That comes from within, from your heart, from your story, from the hunger to do more, to be more, to create something that lasts beyond your lifetime. And if you want to go far in business, you must learn to go deep. Deep into your values, deep into your reasons, deep into the problems your product solves. Because shallow efforts lead to short-lived success, but deep commitment builds empires. Learn to love the grind. Love the boring days. Love the days when nothing works, because those are the days when your foundation is being built. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour, it's preparing you, teaching you patience, teaching you grit. It's not just about building a business, it's about building yourself. And the stronger the man, the stronger the mission. You don't rise by stepping on others. You rise by lifting people up. You don't win by greed. You win by giving more value, more service, more trust. Great businessmen know when to listen, when to speak, and when to stay silent. They don't argue with fools. They don't compete with noise. They stay focused on results. They don't chase approval. They build respect. They don't need applause to move. They move in silence and let the results speak. And most importantly, they don't let ego lead, because ego ruins empires, but humility builds them. They learn to manage time like money, because wasted time is lost opportunity. They schedule their day with intention, morning routines, clear goals, sharp priorities. They treat every minute like gold, because in business, seconds matter, and opportunities don't wait. They knock once, maybe twice, but if you're not ready, they move on. So stay ready, stay prepared, stay alert, and never forget your product matters, but your reputation matters more. People don't just buy your product, they buy your story, your vibe, your honesty. And once you lose trust, you lose everything. So never cut corners. Never cheat the process. Because shortcuts today lead to setbacks tomorrow. Real success is built slow, with sweat, with struggle, with standards that don't bend. A good businessman also knows how to adapt. The market changes. Technology shifts. Trends come and go. But principles, values, discipline, they stay. He's flexible in method but firm in mission. He doesn't fear innovation, he studies it. He doesn't panic in crisis, he plans through it. He doesn't blame the economy, he finds ways around it. That's what leaders do. That's what winners do. And when the world says, "Give up," he whispers, "Watch me." When clients leave, he builds better ones. When doors close, he builds new ones. He doesn't beg for opportunity, he creates it. He doesn't dwell on losses, he learns from them. Every failure becomes fuel. Every scar becomes strategy. And through it all, he remains grounded, thankful, humble, because he knows the real reward is not just in money. It's in growth, in freedom, in making your parents proud, in inspiring others, in building something so meaningful that even after you're gone, Your work still speaks. So to every future businessman out there, don't wait for permission. Don't wait for funding. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start where you are. Use what you have. Build, learn, pivot, grow. Because every legend once began as a nobody with a crazy idea and a relentless work ethic. You want to be a good businessman? Then be the one who wakes up early, who studies while others sleep, who plans while others scroll, who works while others waste time. Be the man who leads by example, who walks his talk, who shows up, rain or shine, who falls down, but always rises harder. Be the man who isn't afraid to be underestimated, because deep down he knows his worth, he knows his destiny, and he knows that sooner or later the world will know it too. A good businessman understands that growth comes not from comfort but from challenge. Comfort is a trap dressed as success, but challenge? That's the forge. That's the fire that sharpens vision, molds resilience, and toughens your skin. You want to grow your business? Then get comfortable being uncomfortable. Walk into rooms where you feel like the smallest. Ask questions when your pride wants to pretend you already know. Learn from those who are miles ahead and don't let your ego stop you from being a student of the game. Success doesn't come overnight, and it never will. It doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It answers to consistent effort, quiet hustle, sacrifices nobody sees, discipline that breaks you but never bends you. A good businessman doesn't clock in and clock out. Business lives in his mind 24/7. Ideas brewing in the shower, strategies forming in silence, solutions appearing when others see problems. Because business isn't a job, it's a lifestyle. It's a heartbeat. It's a fire that doesn't switch off. He knows the difference between busy and productive. He doesn't fill his calendar to feel important, he fills his schedule with purpose. He doesn't just work harder, he works smarter. Delegates, automates, eliminates. He values time like it's oxygen because he knows it's the one thing you can never get back, and when competition rises, he doesn't panic, he elevates. He studies what they do right, learns from what they do wrong, but never imitates. Because a real businessman doesn't copy, he creates. He's not afraid to be different. He's not afraid to disrupt. He's not afraid to be misunderstood for a season because he's building something timeless. There will be voices that say, "You're not ready. You're too young. You're too old. You don't have the resources." But a good businessman knows all those voices are just noise. And he's learned how to quiet the noise. He's trained his focus like a weapon. Eyes on the mission, feet on the ground, faith in the process. He knows that one day of success doesn't make you great and one bad month doesn't make you a failure. It's the long run, the marathon, the unseen effort year after year that builds greatness. So he doesn't chase moments, he builds momentum. He gives credit to his team, thanks his mentors, remembers his roots, because he knows pride is the enemy of progress. He'd rather grow in silence than shine in vanity. He'd rather move with purpose than parade around with noise. A good businessman invests in his health, in his mindset, in his personal growth, because he understands you are the asset. The business won't grow if you don't grow. So he reads, reflects, recharges. Because when you are sharp, your business becomes unstoppable. He doesn't just sell, he tells stories. Doesn't just market, he connects. Doesn't just build customers, he builds believers. Brand loyalty is not built on ads, it's built on authenticity. On keeping promises. On showing up, especially when things go wrong, and yes, he faces burnout, doubt, isolation. But even on the hardest days, he reminds himself, I started for a reason. I fight for a purpose. I build for a legacy. And that's enough to keep him moving. That's enough to rise one more time. So if you're dreaming of becoming a good businessman, understand this. It's not easy. It's not glamorous. It's not always exciting. But it's worth it. Because in this journey, you don't just make money, you make yourself stronger, smarter, sharper, wiser, more focused, more fearless. You rise from rejection. You grow from criticism. You build from nothing. And one day you become a name people trust, a leader people follow, a force that changes lives. That is how you become a good businessman. A good businessman doesn't just build products, he builds people. He trains. He mentors. He uplifts. He shares what he knows. Because he understands you don't grow by keeping knowledge, you grow by multiplying it. He turns employees into leaders, doubters into believers, strangers into partners. He invests in others, not because he has to, but because real success is not success if it ends with you. He doesn't let fear dictate his decisions. He respects fear, but never lets it lead. When others freeze, he finds the next move. When others give up, he digs deeper. Fear might whisper in his ear, but faith roars in his heart. That's the difference. That's what keeps him moving forward when the world throws every reason to stop. He understands the value of legacy. He's not here to just make a living, he's here to leave something behind. A name, a mission, a blueprint. His children will remember his work ethic. His team will remember his integrity. His customers will remember the way he made them feel valued, seen, heard. Because business at its core is about connection, human to human, heart to heart. A good businessman knows how to pivot. The world changes, trends evolve, crises hit, but he doesn't get stuck in old ways, he stays adaptive. He experiments, innovates, reinvents. He listens to feedback, not as criticism, but as fuel for transformation. He doesn't fear change, he leads it. He stays ahead not by luck, but by staying hungry. He also knows when to pause. Not quit. Pause. Reflect. Realign. Reassess. Because even warriors need rest. Even leaders need silence. Growth is not just in movement, sometimes it's in the stillness. In the moments of quiet where new visions are born. A good businessman protects his peace because peace is power. He's not chasing fame. He's not chasing claps. He's chasing impact. And impact often happens behind closed doors. In boardrooms. In early morning meetings. In tough decisions no one sees. That's where real leaders shine. Not on stages, but in the trenches. And when he finally starts to win, when the sales rise, when the doors open, when the brand explodes, he doesn't let it change him. He stays rooted. He remembers the nights he prayed for this. The days he worked with nothing. The failures that shaped his foundation. Because the higher you rise, the deeper your humility must go. A good businessman doesn't pretend to have it all figured out. He asks. He learns. He keeps growing. Because the moment you think you know it all, you've stopped evolving. And in business, if you're not evolving, you're disappearing. He remains a student forever. Curious. Open. Willing to grow. He doesn't fear competition, he welcomes it. Because competition makes him sharper, smarter, faster. It reminds him to never get comfortable, to never settle. To never stop pushing the edge. He doesn't try to please everyone. He knows not everyone will understand the journey. Some will doubt. Some will hate. Some will copy. But that's fine. Because he's not here to be liked, he's here to build. And builders don't stop for barkers. They keep laying bricks until the vision becomes real. And above all, he stays grateful. Not just for the wins, but for the war. For the struggles that shaped him. The storms that tested him, the setbacks that strengthened him. Because without the pain, there is no power. Without the pressure, there is no diamond. So if you want to become a good businessman, look in the mirror. That's your competition. That's your challenge. That's your greatest investment. Sharpen your mind. Strengthen your heart. Build with your soul, because business is not just about what you create. It's about who you become in the process. A good businessman knows it's not just about what you build, but how you build it. With dignity, with discipline, with decisions that don't just profit your pocket, but uplift your principles. Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to look in the mirror and respect the man staring back. Money can buy comfort, but it can't buy character. And character is what keeps your business standing when the winds of life hit. You see, when things go wrong, and they will, that's when the real businessman is revealed. Not when everything's perfect, not when sales are booming, but when the account is empty, when your best employee leaves, when the market crashes, when the people you trusted let you down. In those moments, you'll have two choices: collapse or construct, break or build again. And the good businessman, he always rebuilds, stronger, smarter, sharper. He doesn't fear starting over, because he knows his real value isn't in his business. It's in his mindset. You can take away the brand, the money, the office, but you can't take away his skill, his grit, his clarity. That's what makes him unstoppable. Because once you've built something from nothing, you're never afraid to start again. A good businessman is also a visionary. He doesn't just see what is, he sees what could be. He spots opportunities others overlook. He hears silence where others hear noise. He connects dots no one else can see. And that's because he's trained his mind to look beyond the obvious, to dream with strategy, to plan with passion, to build with boldness. He's not afraid of being first, the first to try, the first to fail, the first to invest, the first to believe, the first to stay standing when everyone else sits down. Being first means being alone sometimes, but it also means being the one people remember, the pioneer, the one who opened doors no one else dared to knock on. A good businessman doesn't just build wealth, he builds wisdom, and he passes that wisdom on to his children, to his students, to his partners, to the next generation who will carry the flame forward. Because what good is success if it dies with you? True businessmen think in decades, in dynasties, in impact that lives long after their final breath. He doesn't live in regret. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every loss becomes leverage. Every no becomes a redirection towards something greater. He doesn't hold grudges, he holds goals. He doesn't dwell in the past, he learns from it, then moves like lightning into the future. And when he finally stands on the mountain of success, when he looks down at how far he's come, he doesn't say, "Look at me." He says, "Now, who can I lift?" Because greatness is never self-centered. It's always service-centered. He remembers the ones who helped him. He honors the mentors who guided him. And he becomes that voice, that guide for someone else. Because in the end, being a good businessman isn't about the brand you wear, it's about the name you make. Not just in your industry, but in your family.in, your community.in, your soul.so. If you truly want to become a good businessman, remember this: you don't need perfect timing, you don't need rich parents, you don't need 1 million followers, you need vision. You need fire. You need consistency. And you need the kind of heart that doesn't quit. When the journey gets hard, but beats louder, build your name, build your legacy, build yourself. Because that's the business that matters most. A good businessman lives with intention. Every step has purpose. Every meeting has meaning. Every product, every post, every pitch, it all connects back to one thing: his mission. Because without a mission, you're just moving, not progressing. You're reacting, not building. But when you know your why, you become unstoppable. And his why isn't shallow. It's not just the car, or the mansion, or the applause. It's the face of his mother, who sacrificed everything. It's the dreams of his children, waiting for a better tomorrow. It's the neighborhood he came from, the one he swore he'd change. That is why he wakes up early. That is why he works when he's tired. That is why he endures the storms. Because this is bigger than him. A good businessman learns to lead not with force, but with example. He doesn't demand respect, he earns it. Through discipline, through empathy, through results. His team doesn't just follow orders, they follow him. Because they trust the man more than the plan. And trust in business is currency. Once lost, it's hard to buy back. He's learned to balance two worlds. The outer world of numbers, deals, and results. And the inner world of peace, faith, and alignment. Because true success is not just outer achievements, but inner fulfillment. What's the point of gaining the world if you lose yourself in the process? A good businessman also builds bridges, not walls. He collaborates, connects, creates alliances that lift everyone higher. Because real business isn't war, it's win-win. It's finding value in difference. It's working with people smarter than you and never feeling small, because the goal isn't to be the best in the room. It's to build the best room. He learns the value of giving, not when he's rich, but when he's real. He gives time, advice, support, opportunity, and as he gives, he grows. Because money is a tool, power is a test, and generosity is the gateway to greatness. He walks with faith, not just in God, but in the process, in the seasons, in the long game. He knows that delay isn't denial, that setbacks are setups, that rejection is often redirection. So when others panic, he pauses. When others quit, he believes. That quiet belief, that's his superpower. A good businessman doesn't live for likes. He lives for legacy. Not how many people know his name, but how many lives were changed because he existed. A legacy not built in one day, but every single day he showed up when no one else would. When he gave his all, even when he had nothing left. That's what will echo long after the applause fades. And when the journey is done, when the pages are written, when the doors finally close, when the world looks back at his story, they won't just say, "He built a business." They'll say, "He built hope, that he built strength, he built people. He built a legacy." So rise, build with fire, lead with love, move with vision. And when doubt whispers, "You can't," let your actions roar, "Watch me." Because that's how you become a good businessman. A good businessman doesn't chase noise. He cultivates clarity. While others are busy being loud, he's focused on being effective. He knows that real power isn't in how much you say, it's in how well you deliver. His voice doesn't echo because it's loud. It echoes because it's true. Because every word comes from experience. Not ego, he's learned to master his emotions. Not by hiding them, but by harnessing them. When anger rises, he turns it into action. When fear knocks, he answers with preparation. When pain comes, he transforms it into purpose. Because success isn't about pretending to be invincible, it's about being resilient. He doesn't let storms shake him. He uses them to sail. A good businessman doesn't just build brands. He builds belief. Belief in the impossible. Belief in others. Belief that with vision, values, and work, anything can be achieved. He becomes a beacon in a world full of doubt, a lighthouse for those lost in excuses, a reminder that greatness has nothing to do with luck and everything to do with grit. He doesn't chase competition. He creates his own category. While others copy, he creates. While others repeat, he revolutionizes. He doesn't follow trends, he sets them. He doesn't ask for permission. He builds where there were no blueprints. That's what separates him. He doesn't just work in the system, he redefines it. A good businessman is not afraid to say, "I don't know," because every "I don't know" is an open door to growth. That he surrounds himself with thinkers, mentors, challengers, people who stretch his vision. Because comfort is the enemy of greatness, and ego is the enemy of learning. He knows how to listen, not just to clients, not just to employees, but to the silence within, to that whisper that says, "You're made for more." And when the world gets loud, he retreats to that silence to realign, refocus, rebuild. A good businessman doesn't just ask, "How much will I make?" He asks, "How much will I matter?" Because deep down he knows profit fades, buildings crumble, but impact lives on. Every business deal becomes a chance to build trust. Every product becomes a chance to deliver hope. Every decision becomes a reflection of who he is, not just what he sells, and he never forgets this. The real business is not in boardrooms, it's in the hearts you touch, the problems you solve, the dreams you help awaken. That he leads with faith, because logic will take you to the edge, but faith will carry you beyond it. He knows not every plan will go perfectly, but every purpose-driven step will lead somewhere meaningful. A good businessman doesn't build alone. He builds with people, with visionaries, with dreamers, with those who see beyond profit and into purpose. And he builds communities, not just companies, movements, not just marketing. He turns his clients into advocates, his staff into family, his business into a mission. And when he succeeds, he lifts others with him. Not because he has to, but because that's what real leaders do. They don't close doors, they hold them open. They don't stand on top, they build platforms. They don't just win, they help others win. So if you want to be a good businessman, don't just build an empire. Build a world others want to live in, where integrity is normal, where vision is contagious, where legacy is louder than luxury. Build that. Be that. Lead that. And in the end, when the meetings are done, when the deals are closed, when the spotlight fades, when the office lights dim, what remains? Not the money, not the title, not the net worth. What remains is the mark you left. Did you lead with love? Did you inspire someone to rise? Did you build something that will outlive you? That's the final audit. Not the balance sheet, but the life sheet. A good businessman, a real one, doesn't retire with regret. He rests with respect, not because he played it safe, but because he gave it everything. He remembers the early days, the hustle, the hunger, the 100 rejections. He remembers the nights with no sleep and no sales, the days when belief was his only currency, and he smiles because he kept going. He walks into a room not to impress, but to empower. He speaks not to be heard, but to awaken. He invests not just in assets, but in humans, because he knows the best business is the business of building people. He leaves behind more than blueprints. He leaves behind blue skies for the next dreamer, the next fighter, the next leader in the making. He teaches his sons and daughters, don't just sell. Solve. Don't just work hard. Work honest. Don't just rise. Lift. Because legacy isn't what you leave for people, it's what you leave in people. And you, yes, you reading this, listening to this, you have that fire inside you. Not everyone will believe in you. Not everyone will see your vision, but that doesn't matter. You see it. You feel it. You are called to IT.so. Build, rise, fall, learn, build again, grow, lead, and never stop, because the world doesn't just need more businessmen. It needs more builders of hope, more creators of courage, more warriors of wisdom. So. Become the businessman whose story will be told, not because he made millions, but because he made a difference. And when the final page is written, let it be said, he dreamed. He dared. He delivered. He built with his heart, and he changed the world. One choice at a time. That's how you become a good businessman. A good businessman doesn't just know what to do. He knows when to do it, because timing is everything. Too early, and people aren't ready. Too late, and the opportunity passes, but the master, he moves with intuition sharpened by experience. He senses the market, feels the shift, and acts with precision. He doesn't rush, he reads people, reads seasons, reads energy, because business at its core is not just numbers, it's rhythm, the rhythm of human need, the rhythm of risk and reward, the rhythm of rise and reinvention. At this level, success is no longer about how much you earn, but how deeply you're trusted. Your name becomes your currency. Your presence becomes your pitch. People want to work with you, not just because of your skill, but because of your spirit. You've mastered not just what sells, but what serves. And here's the truth. The higher you rise, the more humble you must become, because ego is the silent killer of empires. It blinds you to change. It deafens you to feedback. It convinces you that you've made it, when in fact, the mountain still climbs. But the good businessman, he knows the top is not a place, it's a mindset, and that mindset says, I will never stop growing, never stop giving, never stop becoming. He now mentors others, not to create followers, but to create leaders. He doesn't just pass the baton, he teaches how to build the track, because he understands the ultimate legacy is not in the buildings you built. It's in the builders you inspire. At this level, purpose sharpens. He asks not just what's next, but who else can I lift? What blind spot can I turn into vision? What burden can I remove for someone else? And here's the final test of greatness. Can you let go of control, but not of excellence? Can you delegate, elevate, and still keep your values intact? Can you build a system that runs without you, but reflects the best of you? That's when you know you've moved from good to great to timeless. You're no longer just a businessman. You're a builder of movements, a guardian of values, a source of light in a noisy world. And when the new wave of entrepreneurs looks up, they'll see not just a man of success, they'll see a man of substance. So keep building, keep planting seeds that grow forests, keep speaking words that spark revolutions, because your story isn't over. Not until the world says, because of you, I started. Because of you, I believed. Because of you, I never gave up. That's how you become a legendary businessman. There comes a point in every businessman's journey where the real empire isn't outside, it's within. Not built from capital, but from character. Not made of stone, but of spirit. A good businessman eventually asks, what kind of man am I becoming? Because the world will measure you by your profits, but your soul will measure you by your principles. He knows that the highest currency is not money. It's peace of mind. It's being able to look in the mirror and say, I kept my integrity. I stayed true. I did right even when wrong paid more. He becomes more than a leader, he becomes a light. He no longer chases success. He attracts it by becoming a vessel of vision, a fountain of faith, a storm of strength, a fire of discipline, and through every valley he walks steady. Because he knows that storms may shake buildings, but they cannot shake a man who's anchored in purpose. He starts every day not with his inbox, but with his intention, not with numbers, but with gratitude. Not with hustle, but with alignment. He says, let my work be worship, let my business be service, let my success be a blessing, never a burden. Let me never lose my soul in search of silver. Because what's the point of climbing to the top if you lose your truth on the way? He builds with love. He competes with class. He scales with soul, and he knows the greatest return is not ROI, it's RIP, respect. Integrity. Purpose. A good businessman at the highest level becomes a servant of destiny. He listens to the whispers of legacy and answers them not with fear but with fire. He becomes timeless because everything he touches turns to meaning. Every deal, every product, every word carries a signature of excellence. So when his time ends, there is no regret, only reverence, because he did not just make a name. He made a difference. He did not just reach the world. He raised it. And if you want to become a good businessman, then this is the path. Build your mind with discipline. Build your business with wisdom. Build your heart with love, and build your legacy with light. Let this be your creed. I rise with purpose. I lead with honor. I build with integrity. I grow through service. I succeed through impact. And I never stop becoming. That's how you build not just a company, but a calling. That's how you become not just a good businessman, but a great human being. Listen closely, because this is where the journey becomes sacred. You are not here just to sell or succeed. You are here to awaken. Awaken the fire that's been burning inside since the day you dared to dream. Awaken the warrior who fights not for self, but for something greater. Awaken the leader who knows that every challenge is a call to rise. Every morning you wake up, ask yourself, am I building just a business or a movement? Am I chasing money or creating miracles? Am I focused on profits or on people? Because the entrepreneur who awakens sees beyond the spreadsheets, hears beyond the noise, feels beyond the fear. He steps into the unknown with courage, not because the path is clear, but because his vision is unbreakable. He wakes up to the truth that every failure is a teacher, every no is a redirection, every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger. And in this awakening, he learns the secret: business is not about control. It's about connection, not domination, but collaboration. Not isolation, but community. He reaches out his hand, not to take, but to give, not to pull, but to lift. Because true entrepreneurship is a gift. A sacred trust. A chance to shape lives, including your own, for the better. So awaken the visionary within. Awaken the servant leader. Awaken the creator of hope. Build your business not just with strategies, but with soul. Because when you do, you don't just create wealth, you create wonder. You don't just find success, you find self, and the world waits hungry for your light, your courage, your truth. This is your moment, your calling, your awakening. Will you answer? Will you rise? Will you become the good businessman who changes everything? So now, the question isn't if you can become a good businessman. The question is, will you? Will you rise each time you fall? Will you learn when the world tries to teach you through pain? Will you lead with heart, hustle, and honor? Will you build not just a business, but a legacy? The path won't be easy. It will demand your best, your courage, your soul, but on the other side of struggle lies greatness. So take that first step, make that bold move, chase your vision with relentless passion, because the world needs businessmen like you, men and women who don't just want success, but who want to make a difference. Rise up, build well, lead strong, and become the businessman you were always meant to be. Your journey starts now.